Hello and welcome to another episode of the Anybrain's podcast. My name is Ricardo. To talk with us, we have the pleasure to introduce Guilherme Fernandes. Guilherme worked for Newzoo from 2018 until 2023, where he was the lead of the cloud gaming vertical. There, he did market research, forecasting, thought leadership, and consulting. Today, and since February of 2023, he has been working at King as a manager for market and competitive intelligence. In his day-to-day, he's in charge of identifying key trends in the games market and providing recommendations on how to leverage them best. Welcome, Guy.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Awesome, Guy. I will call you Guy. I think it's a short that we use here in Portugal for your name. It's all good, right?
Yeah, don't worry about it. Everyone calls me Guy here at work.
Awesome. First things first. How is Guy as a gamer? He's an avid gamer, occasional. Which were your first video games, and which games are you playing now?
Yeah, so I think I've been playing games ever since I can remember. I started so young that there was this console that I don't even know how it's called. I tried to check it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. It's this little black box with black controllers and red buttons. And I played this type of game that seemed like Space Invaders at the time with my sisters and my dad. And since then, we just kept buying more consoles, gaming PC here and there. And right now I have a gaming laptop. Yeah, I know the people with the towers are going to not think the best of me. But yeah, since I move around a lot, I went for the mobility. I have a PS5. I got it pretty early on, so I was happy with that. I kind of play on all platforms, really. So I see myself as a bit of a hybrid gamer. Right now I'm playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 on my PS5. I play a lot of strategy games, Paradox Titles, for example, and Total War as well, on my PC. And then, of course, I play a lot on mobile as well, because since I work for King, I need to keep track of everything that's going on in the mobile space. So I also have a lot of hours now on mobile games too.
Awesome. And did you ever imagine that you will someday work in the gaming industry? How did it occur to you?
It was a bit of a dream, but a far-fetched one. I didn't really know how to get there. My background's in economics. I studied economics ever since I was in high school, into the bachelor, and then into my master's. And when I was in my master's, there was this almost pre-assigned path that everyone thought people in economics would go into. So everyone thought that we would go into like a central bank or into finance or other sorts of banking, this type of thing. But that really didn't resonate with me. So what I started doing was just right out of college, I didn't know really where I wanted to go. So a bit more generalistic, I went into consulting. I was there for a bit over a year, but it didn't feel like it was the right place for me, because there was just very varied project, but not necessarily in areas that I was the most interested in. And so I started looking for opportunities outside. And I had this dream about games, so I started looking into different options. And I ran into this opening in Newzoo. They're based in Amsterdam. My sister was already living in Amsterdam. And so I was looking into options there. And it really seemed to be something that I would be a really good fit, because they were looking for a market consultant that had experience in consulting, of course, but that also had a good understanding of the games market. And then I joined kind of just with my gamer, like on the consumer side experience, but I quickly developed some understanding of what goes on the business side. And then, as you said at the beginning, I was there for several years, evolving from being a generalistic market consultant to being specialized on the cloud gaming market, and really seeing how that has evolved since 2019. And then after a few years in Newzoo, I thought it was time to search for new opportunities and new challenges. And yeah, now I'm at King and very happy here.
Awesome, awesome. And what can you tell us more about your current position at King? What is your everyday job? Tell us more about it, please.
So we are always keeping track of what's going on in terms of how this King position itself and how are our competitors doing. We want to make sure that we're keeping our eyes on the ball, that we give the game teams and the King leadership the information that they need in order to respond as quickly as possible and making sure that we sustain our market leading position. And that involves giving launch and game launches, event launches, updates, providing some uplifts into special features that are launched on occasion, and also just reporting on broader market trends that we analyze, and giving all of that information to the leadership and to the game teams to make sure that they do the best decisions.
Awesome. Can you sometimes in your work like analyze a market trend and that will be used to do new games, to make new games, or that decision of what goes in the games, it's more with the game producers and game designers?
I'm not sure how much detail I can go into that, to be honest.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, let's then talk about a little bit about other things. We are today in this episode talking about cloud gaming. That was a huge aspect of your work at New Zoo, right? Many people may still be unfamiliar with the concept of cloud gaming. I think. What can you say about it to our audience?
So I think the basic concept behind cloud gaming is that instead of having the requirement of processing the game locally, either on a computer, a console, a mobile device, you shift that processing to the cloud. So the game is going to be running in remote servers, and then there's just this constant transmission of information between the server that's doing the processing to the screen or the device where the player is playing. But then, of course, the inputs from the player also need to be transferred back to the server, and there's this always permanent connection between the two. And that's probably the thing that's most challenging about cloud gaming is how do you keep this constant connection flowing without major gaps, so that the gaming experience remains at a high quality.
Okay. And why did you choose to work in cloud gaming, or it was like a challenge given by New Zoo to you?
It was a bit of a challenge that was assigned to me, but then I really grew into it. At the time in 2019, there was a lot of news around cloud gaming. There was Stadia and some other early developments in the market. And we just thought it would be a relevant area for us to explore and see what the opportunity would be, because we had clients looking into the space. And so we wanted to have an answer and a product ready for them so that we could answer the questions that they were coming to us with. So my manager at the time, Candice, a really, really great manager that I had, she just challenged me to see, okay, do you think you can lead this? It was a brand new product that we were going to launch, new report, new forecasting, market sizing, and all of that. And she supported me, but also challenged me to just build the whole thing from the ground up. And yeah, a few years later, it has done quite well. It was merged into another subscription that New Zoo has currently.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a really interesting ride that got enabled me to meet a lot of cool people that were at the bleeding edge of this new technology, and I really appreciate that.
Awesome. And since you work in cloud gaming right from its dawn, or from the moment that it starts to get acknowledged around the world, today how would you describe the current state of it? What major advancements or trends have you observed in recent years in cloud gaming?
So I think we can't really talk about the development of cloud gaming without mentioning what happened to Stadia.
Okay.
I already mentioned at the beginning that kind of it sparked the interest in the market after the initial experiments with OnLive and Gaikai earlier in the 2010s. There was a bit of a intermission that nothing really happened for a lot of years, but then Stadia came out, and a lot of people will be familiar with what happened. That they eventually shut down the service. They built first-party studios, but also disbanded them shortly after. But what I want people to take away from this is, and from the growth of cloud gaming, is that I don't think that what happened to Stadia represents what's happening in the broader segment and the technology as well. I think there has been very concrete advancements and improvements that have been done. And to give a few examples, I think that it was a slower progression than many were initially thinking. Everyone was pretty hyped up. Like the hype cycle was at its peak in 2019, 2020. There was a boom that was enabled by COVID, of course, because people were stuck at home. There was a shortage on hardware. And so more and more people started to experiment with cloud gaming. And that allowed people to just test their proof of concepts and to see, okay, what can we actually deliver here? So everyone kind of had to just gather everything and, okay, let's really try to ship products. And it was at this point that I was speaking with the leads of the startups and the companies leading this new wave of cloud gaming. And it was really interesting to see what they were doing. And since then, I think that the market has matured quite a lot. The business propositions are a bit clearer. And slowly but surely, there is growth in the segment with more and more adoption. I think one of the main concerns around cloud gaming since its inception was the quality of the gaming experience, as I mentioned earlier. Yes. And that a lot of it is tied to the input latency. So the time that it takes for the player to press a button and to see the corresponding action on the screen. Because once again, the information needs to travel all the way back to the server and then back to the player. And there were definitely some issues at the beginning with the technology that was being deployed, but there has been a lot of effort and really strong and smart people working on this. And it's impressive to see how far the technology has come. One of the leading examples is NVIDIA GeForce Now, that they have already announced several years ago, I think, end of 2021 or beginning of 2022, that they had this new tier. They function in tiers, different subscription tiers. And the most expensive one, the highest one called Ultimate, they have these special servers that are running the games. And it's the input latency is lower than what people would get in Xbox Series X playing locally.
What?
Yeah. So this is something that a lot of people don't really believe.
Yeah.
But
obviously,
it was a claim that was made by NVIDIA, and at first people were like, "Oh, okay, but this is going to be just in a super controlled environment. One of their labs just has a huge Ethernet cable connecting one thing to another and like really optimal conditions." But then there have been third-party tests that fact-checked this. Yes. And one of them was from Digital Foundry. So Digital Foundry, they're really recognized in the space for their benchmarks and their comparisons in performance. And they have found, indeed, that under some conditions that maybe are not available to everyone, but that are definitely not just in a super specialized lab, that the claim from NVIDIA was true.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there have been improvements across the board, I think, across a variety of services, because it's not just Google and NVIDIA. You also have Xbox, cloud gaming, you have Amazon Luna, you have smaller companies that are really doing a lot of effort here, like Boosteroid, like Blacknut, and other companies that I think everyone has been working on the technology, and it's in a much better shape now than it was at the beginning. Um, and that is just positive because it's leading people to see that the myths and the maybe preconceptions that first existed when the technology was out are kind of fading away. And
Yes.
the future is really positive.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that at all, and maybe it's a mistake of mine that I don't search more about it. I couldn't understand at first, like the concept of way less latency than local play, but I guess it's possible, if you are
It's
saying
it's
two things.
not it's not way less.
Yeah, it's no,
it's
yeah,
a few
it's
it's a
just
few
less.
milliseconds.
Exactly.
It's a few milliseconds, but yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's your fault for not knowing this. I mean, I was a neck deep into this for several years, so I was
Uh huh.
researching every little bit that I could about
On the
it.
topic,
I
yeah.
was I was one of the analysts that had access to the announcements before they came out and stuff like that
Okay.
because of
Okay.
the connections that I built in the space. So yeah, it's not something that I assume is general knowledge,
Okay.
but that's also another interesting point, which is how they've changed the way that they market and that they communicate around this technology to the broader market. So at first, it was really focused on what the technology can achieve. So this is amazing, this is the future, no more hardware kind of thing. But then people that were marketing and making the services started to realize that people don't really care about that. They care about the quality of the gaming experience. So what's the most important for the player is to just start playing frictionlessly,
Okay.
without any issue. Just click a button and start playing. Have access to the games that they want to play, and making sure that when they are playing, that the experience is good. So over the years, we saw a shift in the way that cloud gaming is communicated. So right now, you don't really see a lot of focus on cloud gaming. It's often even hidden from the messaging, and it's more just here's a solution, try it out, and you're gonna see that it's really good, and it works, and it delivers on what the people want. So I think that was also a very positive shift in the industry.
Yeah, to make it more about, once again, when gaming companies make it more about the gamers, the results are better. I think always, and when they hear the gamers' perspective, they are one step closer to get gamers' attention. And so, yeah, I was going to ask you about from a user perspective, what do you think about cloud gaming changing the way people access and play games? But I think you pretty much answered me on that one. But it really does bring benefits, not only the no hardware part, but also the for people to know maybe more types of games, and that with the less latency than local play, another big benefit, right?
I think there are several aspects in terms of the benefits. So there is that. So no more requirement for to have like a super expensive computer, or just to spend several hundreds of dollars or euros on a console. There's the discoverability for sure. That's a big part of how Xbox and PlayStation now as well are presenting the technology to their subscribers, is for people who do have their subscriptions to start playing a game that they see in the store without having to download, because it can be quite time consuming to download an entire game. So like committing to that, and with the limited storage that the consoles have, you might not want to have to uninstall something to just try out this game that's on one of the subscriptions if you don't really know if you're into it. So a part of the pitch that they're using now is just you can just click when you see it in the store and you can try it out. Maybe there will be some drops in performance here and there. I mean, it depends on the quality of the connection and a bunch of different factors. But if people really like it, then they can commit and make the download and then just play locally. It's kind of the pitch that's being used right now. Mm-hmm. There's also an interesting thing that in terms of the benefits for the user, something that we saw in the research that we did when I was at Newzoo was an interesting pattern in terms of adoption and the user behavior, which was at the beginning people would try to play maybe one game that they had their eyes on and they really couldn't play anywhere else, and they would just see kind of if it works. This happened a lot when Cyberpunk came out. For example, Cyberpunk had a lot of issues in terms of performance, but it was running pretty well on PC. Mm-hmm. So it had issues on console, but it was running pretty well on PC. And that led a lot of people to services like GeForce Now that could run Cyberpunk, and I think Stadia at the time as well. So that means that people were, okay, let's see if this runs. And it did. They did maybe 1 or 2 sessions and they kind of dropped it. Maybe they finished the game or they played as much as they wanted and they dropped it. But the first step of experimenting the technology was already there and seeing that it was able to deliver something that they couldn't with a local hardware. That was a really important step. And after that, after this first experiment or experience that people have with cloud gaming, there tends to be another stage. So there's going to be maybe another game that they also want. And maybe there's going to be more recurring sessions of different games that they're playing, and they're going to use the cloud for that. So what started as kind of a dipping your toe in the water to see how it is, mm-hmm. Suddenly they get more and more into it, longer time sessions, more frequent sessions, until eventually there were people saying that now they are a cloud gamer. They only play in the cloud. And this is, I think, a behavior that is probably replicable in the broader context, and that we might see growing in the future, because we wanted to know in the research that we did, okay, is it like, are people just bearing with the experience that they get, like they accept it is what it is, or they're actually satisfied? And for people who tried, and especially, of course, those that were playing regularly, they were really happy with the experience. Overall, the satisfaction of the experience that they got of playing through the cloud was really high, which was kind of at odds with what maybe the hardcore PC Master Race gamer would say. No, there's no way that this is ever going to be this good. People will never want this. There's no market for this, and things like that. Because what we were seeing is that adoption is becoming more and more frequent, and the people who do try it like it a lot. So while it's still a kind of a small segment of the market now, for sure, I'm always saying we, but I personally believe that it's definitely a market with a strong future. And I think eventually we might see it just as a normal form of gaming, like a mainstream form of gaming, that, who knows, maybe it will become the dominant one, as we see now with audio and with video, that kind of everything is streamed. Sure, there are the niche people that like to have a vinyl or something like that, or a Blu-ray, so that it doesn't get pulled from your online catalog. But yeah, it's. I think it has a lot of promising future.
Could it be something to do with? I don't know. I'm just thinking right now after what you said. Could it be something to do because it could be tricky to marketing at physical events, gaming events, I don't know if, but maybe you can also showcase cloud gaming on a physical event and showcase if it works in a physical event with so many people logged onto the internet. It could be a good market
Yeah,
trend.
that is something that actually they have tried.
Okay, okay,
If you, I don't know if you know, but Samsung, that is a trend from 2022, I think. There was Samsung and LG that were launching their own gaming hubs. So it's a Samsung gaming hub, and
okay,
LG is the, I don't remember the name, gaming shelf or something like that. And what they wanted was to show, okay, like, look, you can just have a smart TV. You turn on your TV and then you can immediately start playing. You don't need to have a console next to it or anything like that. And they did that in Gamescom, I think,
okay.
for 2 years in a row now. That they had a booth in Gamescom in Germany. People would go there. There would be a bunch of TVs and they could play. It's a bit tricky because, as you mentioned, it's so first it's in Germany. I don't want to offend anyone, but I think even the Germans would recognize that the internet infrastructure is not the best
Okay.
there. So that's a bit of a struggle. And then there was a lot of people at the event, a lot of
Yeah.
booths, a lot of people just connected to the internet. And that does mean that the bandwidth is very limited. So it kind of compromised the connection a bit. But still, they were there and it was working.
Yeah,
And
of
they
course.
were showing people what they're capable of. So I think, that's something
Okay.
that has already been done.
I cannot sell this idea to anyone then. Okay. Okay. One thing that was thought about is security is a crucial aspect of any online service. Are there any particular concerns only related to cloud gaming, especially considering the sensitive nature of gaming data or gaming servers?
I think cloud gaming, from what I know, and my technical knowledge on this part is a
Okay.
little bit not as robust as in other parts. But from what I know, cloud gaming has just a lot of upside in terms of security because it shifts so it minimizes what you need to have on the client side because you're doing all the processing and everything in a centralized server that you probably have more control of than the machines that people can use to run things locally. And that means that it's a lot harder for cheaters, for example, to tamper with the game files and develop hacks and cheats and that type of thing. So if all the processing is just running on the server side, then that should be a benefit in terms of the like cheating and the security, at least of the gaming experience. In terms of also securing the game files and the software that the companies use, I think it should also be a positive. There are companies that are resorting to cloud gaming to develop their own games. So instead of having to have everyone in the office and or making it really complicated to shift or to ship development builds across the world to people that are in different locations, they can just have everything in the cloud and running in the cloud. And that just should make things easier. There was a company that was really specialized in this called Parsec that was acquired by Unity in 2021. I'm not exactly sure on the year now. But it's definitely a development area that people are trying to use this for, and also to share demos and things like that with the media before a game is launched, and you know exactly what you're sharing.
Okay.
There's no possibility of using the file that you maybe will have to send to someone, and that file is used in another way. So you have a lot more control also when you do this outreach with the media and things like that. So as far as I know, it's mostly just upside, but maybe I'm missing a few bits on the downside.
Okay, okay. Uh, to talk a little bit about to do a little bit about of futurology. I wanted to ask you about augmented reality and virtual reality. Can it be integrating with cloud gaming somewhere soon, or do you see the future of cloud gaming going on a different direction? I don't know.
I think it can. There's actually some very recent news from this that I think it was Xbox Cloud Gaming and the Oculus Quest, Meta Quest. I kind of lose track of the names now, but the Meta Quest 3.
Yeah.
That they did a partnership so that people could play a Meta Quest 3 games via Xbox Cloud Gaming.
Okay.
And use that to run the games. And a few years ago, there was also an announcement from NVIDIA that they launched, I think it was Cloud XR was the name, and that would be cloud gaming for XR, so VR, mixed reality, AR games. And so these solutions already exist, but it's even harder than just normal cloud gaming, because there's always this thing with VR that a lot of people are quite sensitive to the motion sickness and all of that. And the biggest source for that is when there is a delay between the reaction from the player and seeing something in the virtual world. So if you cannot guarantee that the performance and the input lag through the cloud is really top notch, and if somehow you increase this even further, then it makes long sessions and just basically playing in VR even harder. So it's a interesting technical challenge, I think, that the teams are facing, but it's positive that they're still trying to address this, and the new partnership between Meta and Xbox is definitely an interesting one. I would also say that on a longer term, once the performance can kind of be assured in the two sides, so just if VR can grows, because it's been a bit slower now, and if the cloud gaming really lifts off, I think there is also the possibility of addressing another concern on on VR, which is just all the devices and hardware that you need to have that can be quite heavy. Because if you remove the need to have the processing and all of that in the headset, for example, then you can make the headset a lot lighter and more comfortable and convenient for people to play. So that could be a kind of a more long-term benefit of combining the cloud with VR.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. We are getting to the end of our episode, but since you are the expert that you are on the gaming markets and working at Newzoo at King, how do you see cloud gaming impacting the broader gaming market? Not just the cloud gaming market, but the gaming market as a total.
So I think it has the possibility of being quite disruptive. We saw what the streaming revolution did to audio and to video. And even though gamers can be quite attached to their hardware that they've maybe even personally built themselves, like their computers and so on, or they just really like to have the consoles that look cool next to the TV and things like that, I think there is this possibility that as players continue to be impressed and satisfied with the performance that the cloud delivers, when they reach the next moment of, okay, should I buy a new computer or a new console, or should I just play in the cloud? And I think it's a really interesting point when those questions start to be made. Even me personally, like I have a gaming laptop, but an issue with gaming laptops is that they overheat a lot, and they make a lot of noise when they're processing demanding games. So even I'm thinking, should I spend a bunch of money in a new game, or should I just go? Sorry, not a new game, in a new laptop or a new tower PC, or should I just go with cloud gaming and save a lot of money, definitely in the short term, and in the long run, it would take several years of one of the cloud gaming subscribing to one of the cloud gaming services to match the same spending. So I think that's a very interesting question that a lot of people will have. On the other hand, we also have something that I haven't really talked to, another topic that I haven't really mentioned a lot about, but it's the impact of cloud gaming on mobile.
Okay.
So it broadens a lot the horizons of what people will be able to play on mobile devices. Sure, right now you have the Steam Deck and the Asus ROG Ally, I think is the name, that are essentially handheld PCs. But wouldn't it be a lot more comfortable not to have to hold them, like a lot of hardware pieces that are inside and that make the whole thing quite heavy, and just switch it to remote processing, to being in the cloud, and having mobile devices that you can play on without being constrained by the processing power that you have in them. So that applies both for the Steam Deck and equivalents, but also to just smartphones and tablets. Imagine that you can be playing any AAA game that you have on a PC or on a console on your phone. And sure, there are challenges with this. There are challenges about, okay, but what about the input controls and other questions of that sort? But there are solutions being developed. There are already controls that you snap on the side of the phone as if you're like playing on a Switch kind of thing. So you just plug on both sides and you're playing there. There are the claws that you can put a controller, and then on top of the controller of like an Xbox controller, you have a little claw, and it's grabbing your phone, so you can just play on the go like that. And it's really interesting to just think about how the barriers made by the platforms that have been segmenting the games market can be erased. In time, when cloud gaming really becomes a mainstream form of playing, and players stop thinking about gaming and defining themselves as gamers from the platforms that they play on, and just start thinking about the types of games that they like to play, and they can play them anywhere at any time, and not being dependent on hardware. So I think that's a really interesting play. And let me just add one last thing, that I also see the benefit for cloud gaming for other companies to enter the market. And someone who's been very active in this regard is Netflix. And when I say Netflix, I think maybe other competitors could do the same, even though it would probably have a very high investment cost, as it's already having on Netflix. But Netflix has this idea, this strategy of adding games content to their subscriptions. And they're already rolling that out. They have several mobile games that can be downloaded from the app stores if you're a subscriber. And this is a solution, but it's not a great one so far, because from the numbers that have been reported, adoption is quite low. The discoverability is not that great. They're trying to address that with some direct banners when you log in and like click on this and then go to the App Store. But you need to go to the App Store, install the game, and there's a lot of friction. And
it's not implemented on the site or on the Netflix app, right? You have to figure that out. Yeah. Right now, you still need to get out, because you need a way for people to install the game, and you cannot install games directly from the app because the stores don't allow that. Okay.
At least the App Store definitely doesn't allow that on iOS. And so, what would the solution be? Wouldn't it be a lot nicer if you're just in the Netflix app, can be on your phone, and you tap a button and you just instantly start playing a game? Maybe you just finished watching an episode of some show. There's a game that they're working on, several games. They announced it last week that there were 80, 90 games that they were working on, and already other, like, a very high number as well that's in the catalog. And one of the games that's related to the show, and you just start playing. No friction, no having to jump around different things. And it would be a really interesting addition to their offering. And this can be done probably only through the cloud. And so that's why they're investing already a lot in it. They have beta tests in several countries: the UK, Canada, US. And when I say that this applies to playing on mobile, it more importantly would also bring this experience beyond mobile games and into people who are just watching on their TVs. They have probably a smart TV or something like that, and you don't need to have a console. You're just in the Netflix app. You press a button, you start playing something that Netflix is offering. And I think this would be a really interesting development for Netflix and for similar companies. And it just shows the power that the disruptive power that cloud gaming can bring to what we know in the games market nowadays.
Thank you, Guy. Yeah, that sure seems a thing of the future coming to the present. Especially in the point that you made, like one person is watching an episode of series that adapted video game, and with the one or two clicks, the same person can play said video game. Yeah, that would be awesome, and that's the power of cloud gaming. I have one last question for you, and it will be to ask you if you have any advice, or if you want to say something to the people that are listening that want to work in the gaming industry.
I think my advice would be to not limit yourself to what you think are the possibilities inside of gaming, because a lot of people maybe think that, oh, I need to be a coder, or like be a developer, or need to be a designer and need to draw really well, do animations really well, this type of thing. And sure, these roles are a key thing, a key part of the games industry. You cannot make games without these people, so they're really like the backbone of everything. But there's a lot of other opportunities inside of games, and I'm the living proof of that, right? I don't know coding. I'm terrible at drawing, so I still find a way. I found a way of adding my own value and perspective in another way into the business. So just as market research, competitive insights, and these type of things, that of course are a bit closer to like a consulting role, a strategy role, but it's still important. And there are a lot of opportunities across the industry in both big and small companies. Of course, smaller companies will be likely to have more core teams with a lot of developers and so on. But in every company, there will be other opportunities for people from all types of backgrounds to join and to start working in games if it's something that you're really passionate about. You just need to find the best way for you to add your value into the ecosystem, into the industry. And if you do that, then I'm sure that once you present your business case, so to say, when you're interviewing and looking for those opportunities, then people will recognize what you have to offer, and then you'll be in, and hopefully you'll be happy.
Thank you very much, Guy. It was great
My pleasure.
talking to you and hearing your insights. They are really good and special, since we treat such an important topic on nowadays in our industry. Thank you for everything, and bye bye.
Thank you.